Okay, everybody, welcome to Art 1. And what I'm going to talk about today is we seem to have a little bit of question as toward why we're doing the pictures exact to the reference. And, most people, they want to do what they want to do, which is great. But the problem we have is that if you do it that way, it's going to take you a month of Sundays to actually understand why you do what you do. So these lessons are set up particularly for that, so you can learn the rules, because then you're going to break them. Then you can do your own thing. Now, another way of doing this, looking at this, is whatever you do in class, follow the procedure. When you get home, though, that's where I want you to experiment and play, because that way you're trying things, what works, what doesn't work, and you're experimenting. You learn a lot faster that way. So in the case here, as you can see, basically, I'm just taking my time. I'm not really focusing so heavy that I can't make this thing happen, or I can't get it to where I want. But what I can't do is I can't take the time to say, okay, you can go back and change this, because the biggest problem you face with that is we don't use pencil with this portion of the class. So every time I work on this, what I'm really trying to do is figuring out what works, what doesn't work, and how we can apply it here in the class. Because inherently what I want to see is I want to see as many values as you see here. So if you understand that principle behind that, then what happens is you take that and you apply that to everything else you do. So that's the reason why I want you to try to come as close. I want to also, if you decide to make this entire area dark, if you tell me why you're doing that, and it actually is logical. As you can see, I left it out too. I put in the flower, but I put in the leaf, but I left out this light part here. I'm going to do the same thing up here. If you give me the answer as toward why you're doing that, and it sounds logical as toward the composition of this, or what you're trying to get out of it, that makes a lot of sense. If you don't do that and you say, well, I like it this way, your liking is not the intention of this picture, is it? Your liking actually is what you'll do on your own. So, and we're way past that type of situation. Now notice I changed my hand because I'm getting really detailed, aren't I? I'm only going to get detailed for a second. Come in here and work. And in about 2 minutes, I'm going to just stop because I want to step back and look. And these are really, really tight leaves. So I'm going to come in here. And notice I'm working here and I'm not working here. I know this has to go darker, a lot of these values, but I'm also making sure things look as close as possible while I'm doing this. And the only reason why I'm doing this here is because when I'm done, it gives me the ideas of what you guys can do with this. And also that way I can help when you do run into problems. So the whole object of the game is you're not going to see me do anything that I wouldn't have you guys do first. Just like our violin we have here in class. It looks good. Of course, is it a real violin? No. That's the whole problem with that is. So this whole process I'm doing here, it comes from a learned, skilled set of tools. And if you wind up not understanding your tools, then guess what? You're going to have lots of issues. See, I can come in here now and I can do this right here. Notice I changed my hand because I wanted to go over a little bit. And so that makes that feel a little more correct. So this has a lot of really cool things happening to it, to where right here, But you can't get to this point unless you really understand about these values, how to make them work, how to make that sunflower really look like a sunflower. And it doesn't matter whether it's this one or anybody else's. All that matters is, all I care about is how light and dark I can go, how many values I can pull out, how much of this shape I can make versus what I think it should be. That's the problem we have, is we think it should be a certain way instead of actually being a certain way. So what you see me here is, you can see when I'm looking at the camera right here, I'm seeing it has a lot of light values over here. There's values there. It's pretty even. So I need to go distinguish this a little better. It's coming out, but it's going to take me a little time. This honestly is probably a good 3-hour project. 3 hours means about 2 days, because you're taking breaks, you're stopping, you're looking at it, you're taking breaks, you're stopping, you're looking at it. So it's never about sitting down, and that's another thing. We've got to stop thinking that you have to sit down and do the drawing beginning to end, but also you have to understand why you're there in the first place. You can't be there. You can't do this. I'm just going to pull that down here. Make that leaf kind of stand out. I'm going to come in here and we'll use a real light value. And it's always about how much depth you can create by doing this. Now this right here, let's look how dark I can go with this. I'm only going to be able to take this so dark, right? Or I'm going to be sharpening a pencil forever. I'm going to really be working on it. So this right here is about as dark as I can ever get with the pencil working here, other than just basically wasting pencil. So that's another thing we talk about, is when we're talking about this right here, you know, what am I okay with? What am I okay with leaving, so that when I get to the point of finishing this thing, I can look back and say, okay, it's done. And you can already see by me doing this work here, it changed the values here. Now watch this. See this, how it looks kind of pale and blank? Another thing everybody's not doing is they're not moving the work around, okay? And again, I'm going to keep that like that. Now I'm able to come in here, change my pencil. As you can see right here, I'm going to change it to this one. It's a really nice sharp point. I always keep 5 or 6. And again, I don't want to go really dark, but I want to make sure that I'm really tight to the lines. I'm going to come in here and establish that a little better. Now what's happening to the leaves now when I do this? And see, I can cover a lot more space by doing it this way. I just want to be real careful. And it's all about control. It's not about the idea that I'm taking a pencil and I'm shading. It's about controlling that pencil to where you get what you want out of it. So what do you see me do here? You just see me darken and lighten and stuff like that. And looking here, put this line here. See, and also what did you see happen? And when I went like this, it's taking me a lot longer to fill this area in. Also, it looks like I've left lines. So I've got to come in here. I want to take out those lines. I want to be very careful. I don't always suggest this one people do, but we've got a few students who like this one in particular. So I want you to do it, but I want you to control those values. It's always about the values. It's never about the subject, and it's definitely not about anything more than that. Okay, I have to bring this in a little bit to establish that leaf. If you got a completely dark area, you can outline your thing there pretty easily, and you can kind of see what's happening here. Okay, so what did you see happen? By taking this out and this out, it really established where that flower's at, right? So if we take it again and we put it back into perspective as toward what we're looking at, there you go. So it's having this really kind of nice effect. And actually it shows backwards here. I do apologize. I am left-handed. It's showing me as right-handed, so I do apologize. But you can kind of see it's heading my direction. Now I've got to stop, because if I don't stop, I'm going to take it too far because I'm too close to it. I have to step back from it. So anyway, guys, and Gady, how you doing? So anyway, guys, this is what we're working on. This is what we're doing. This is the reason why we're doing it. Don't concentrate too heavy. It's all about the values only. It is never about the subject. So we need to work faster, think less, do more, and actually accomplish more, and not actually have to deal with this too much. So anyway, this Mr. Bauer's out.